Good afternoon, everybody. We are here in our session in the afternoon in the workshop of Musa Magasa on behalf of the organizing board of La Check 2020. We want to give you a warm welcome. My name is Matias Marin, Director for Internationalization at Universidad Católica de Manizales. We ask you all to please turn off your microphones and only activate them when we get to the Q&A or when the moderator, Musa Magasa, tells us to do so. Thank you very much for participating here. We would also like to invite you to visit our virtual stands and also to be active in our community for different forums of virtual meetups. For our session, we have Musa Magasa. Musa is the human rights human rights educator at University of Victoria. He has been doing different works related to anti-racism, Islamophobia, and different works towards this multicultural understanding and intercultural relations. Musa, we want to give you the floor. We thank you so much for being with us in this session, also last week in the plenary session, and you can hit the floor right now.
Excellent. Thank you, Matthias. Good afternoon, everyone. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open my PowerPoint, and hopefully everyone will be able to see. So Matthias, I will be coming back and forth to you and ask you if you saw the PowerPoint.
Yeah, I can see it.
You can see it. Okay, so that's good. So then I'm going just to go ahead and do the presentation. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Musa, and this is really an opportunity and an honor to talk with you and engage you to this discussion about international, as we call it, intercultural relationship in the international classroom. Most importantly, to develop together some effective cultural and diversity competencies and how this can happen in our classroom, because as many of you know, internationalization, as I say in my introduction, is a conversation, or I will say a discourse that is still out there. The jury hasn't agreed on everything and decided that we have the final answer. So today, therefore, I want to engage you into conversation. This won't be just a presentation from me. It will be a workshop. So I will want to workshop this concept with you and interact back and forth. So I hope you're ready for that, because there will be some time traveling, as we say. I work at the Equity and Human Rights Office here at UVic at the university for the last 14 years. I also teach social justice courses and courses in intercultural communication and conflict resolution in our master's program in dispute resolution. I also work for the last, I think, 16 years at UBC, University of British Columbia in Vancouver, where I teach different courses on intercultural communication and conflict resolution, international development, and those kind of things. So I'm hoping that these experiences I have been gaining all over the place, I can bring them today to this conversation. So without further ado, I want to say my intention for this workshop for 1 hour and a half is for us to be able to critically reflect on the intersections of culture and communication, and to assess the impact of power, privilege on cross-cultural relationship and communication, but also to be able to acknowledge the diversity and the cultural richness brought about by immigrant newcomers and others on the margin, but most importantly by international students in our classroom. And I hope at the end of this conversation, there will be a way for us to discuss way to create an inclusive, welcoming, and respectful classroom and campuses, and also taking away some tangible cultural, intercultural competencies that we can use in other settings. But before I go, one of the big questions I always ask to myself is this: when you think about intercultural or international in your classroom or campus, what comes to mind? What are the words that come to mind? And I want to challenge all of you to look at the top of your screen, you will see view option. And I want you to click on the view options on your screen. And when you click on those options, what you will see a word that say annotate. You click on annotate, and there will be a box that say text for T. You click on text, and then you can write something on this screen, one word. So I want you to be able to write one word here when you click on annotate. So without further ado, I want to challenge all of you to write one word, like one word that represents intercultural or international for you. So your turn. I'm waiting for people to write down. Can people write? So, Machas, if you want to translate, it is just on top of their screen. It says view option. They click on view option, and then they click on annotate, and after that text box, and they can write.
Sí, en las herramientas que tenemos en Zoom, en este momento en la parte superior, aparece una opción que aparece anotar. En anotar aparece la opción de escribir. Lo principal aquí, si pueden escribir, si tienen la función, si no la tienen también para que nos confirmen, por favor. ¿Qué viene a la cabeza? ¿Cuál es una palabra que viene a la cabeza cuando hablamos de intercultural o internacional? Para ello está abierta la ventana en este momento de Musa, que es la actividad que está proponiendo en este momento. Poner una palabra de intercultural o internacional con la función de anotar de Zoom. Musa, they are telling us that apparently, in my case, I don't have that permission. Apparently, they have no permission either.
Okay, so that's good. So what I'm going to do then, I'm going to go to emerging design. Emerging design is that as a facilitator, I have to find a way to still get people do the work differently. So what that means, I'm going to send you in a break room, in a room where you will meet other people, and you will have 5 minutes in your group to compile 4 or 5 keywords that come to mind. And then when we come back, you have to report, everyone. Each group, you choose one person to report the 5 words or the 4 words you agreed on. Is that good? So I'm going to do that. I'm going to send the people off then. Looks like there is a problem there.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, we were brought back. I mean, we didn't have time to really discuss what comes to mind.
Okay, so I'm going to do it again. And maybe I should give people 10 minutes instead of 7 minutes.
Just a further instruction again. So we are going to be split it into groups. The question is, what comes to mind when we hear intercultural international?
Yes.
We're discussing our teams, and there is going to be one person who's going to report back. Finish our session, right?
Yes.
These breakout groups. All right.
Yes, that's the case. So, and I'm giving more time. Just this way, it won't kick people out of the system. Okay, so let's go now.
Good afternoon, Professor Mausa.
Hi, Alfonso.
How are you today?
I am good. How are you doing?
Oh, fine. I work in some things about my job, and are you ready to listen your lecture that today?
Excellent.
I writing to you.
Yeah.
In a chat. I am Antioquia professor at Antioquia University, and I am an engineer. but I like your topics in the last Tuesday.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Yeah. So this is it's a conversation that definitely is very important these days in the world we live in. Yeah, because you know this is the reality of our world. Internationalization is one conversation we have in, but as instructor in our classroom and on our campuses, we need to keep in mind that it is not that easy. It is not that straightforward.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I think that it's important the concept of humanity of the citizens, because it's that the people or the students or the future engineers will understand what is the role in the society. Because I think that different topics about thermodynamics or different concepts about engineer on a life, and the people could be meeting in any moment, but understand the importance about the role in a society. For me is most important, that the future engineer could be understand why stay here, why this is maybe apply in the society, for example, in Colombia. So I can listen to you about this concept.
Definitely, definitely. So yeah, I really look forward to the conversation. Me too, because I know that these are going to be very interesting. Because here in Canada, as you know, oftentimes we call ourselves the country of multiculturalism. We think that we are great, we did everything, but I can tell you it's not the case. Even here in Canada, there is a lot of challenges and problems that we don't understand, and we still aren't clear about it. So people are coming back. So I think we have almost 30 people. And so, Alfonso, when I finish at the end, I will put my, Oscar, I will put my email address. And if you want to continue this conversation, we can always be in touch.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Professor Mausa.
Thank you.
So maybe I write it to you after
Yeah.
waiting to you.
Yeah.
And okay,
Yeah.
nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you too.
For this channel.
Yeah, thank you so much, Oscar.
Okay,
so everyone is back, and I want us to hear from each group. There was one person to report back, 3 or 5 of the keywords that come to mind. The function I was going to use for this exercise was people to post it online, but it looks like you don't have that function. So it is okay. Let's hear from each person. Let's go with the first group. It was Angel, Eleonora, Maria, Matias, and Monica.
Yeah, thank you, Musa. We have a volunteer, and that is Monica Montes from Unisabana is our reporter.
I would want to ask if I can speak in Spanish. I would prefer. It's okay?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So
we
3
have
or 5 words. Yeah.
Bueno, plurilingüismo, encuentro, cultura, intercambio, diversidad. Debíamos pensar solo 5 palabras, ¿cierto? Es eso lo que te debo decir, ¿verdad? ¿Sí? I should say that in English. We should select 5 words. It's okay?
Yes. Okay. It's okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So I will challenge now, Matias. You go to the chat room, and I want you to put those 5 words in English. So each group, put your 5 words in the chat room in English for other people also to see. So now I go to group number 2. There is Camila Bravo, Dana Delgado, Eric Lopez, Fernando Leon, Julia Blumenthal, and Maka Rina. So who is the person to report from this group? You can also tell us the 5 words or 3 or 5 words.
Hi, yes, we wrote like, we already wrote them there, and it is intercultural, respect, exchange, communication. Those are our words.
Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent. So you should write it in the chat room for everyone also to see. So let's go to the next group. Evantos, Maria Cristina, Maria Isabella, Sandra Toro, and Servicio Linga. Okay, who wanna report from that group? Anyone? Anyone want to speak and list says those words?
I don't know, with intercultural, I understand maybe 5 words. The first word for me is food.
Mm-hmm.
The second, the kind of music that the people listen, dancing, places.
Yes.
And the most important, the ASCUN culture.
Culture. Excellent. Thank you. Group number 5, Angelica Molinas, Movilidad, Coordinator Movilidad, Lina Maria Valencia Castano, and Marcela Maldonado, and Paula Velez.
Hello, everyone. The words that we have chosen are interaction, identity, diversity, and inclusion.
Excellent. Is there another group? Group I'm missing?
I don't know which group number I was, but I was with Maria Vanegas.
Yeah, Maria, you were with Maria Vanegas, Oscar, and Rene. Go ahead.
Oscar. Okay. Well, we came up with local, so global with local together.
Yes.
Diversity, connections, and misunderstanding.
And misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So tell me, all of you, I want to hear maybe for a few people, what is your impression with all the words you just heard now? You know, all these words that people listed here. How this play in the context of your classroom, in your international classroom? How these all words, the different things, if they play out in your classroom, what kind of classroom you will have? Will it be a successful classroom or a troublesome classroom?
I think it's probably to have a classroom full of people from different perspectives and different cultures trying to learn from something.
Yes.
Maybe with different contexts as well, like with different values, holidays, customs. I think it will be a really variety space.
Yes. Yeah. So definitely think about it. You're talking about a classroom where you can see that there will be plurilingualism, exchange of ideas, diversity, multiculturalism, citizenship. You will see a class that there is interactions, there is diversity, there is identities recognized, that there will be inclusion. You will have a classroom that also is global. You will have a classroom that is intercultural, where there is respect and communication, where acknowledgement of food, music, dancing, beautiful space, and ancient culture is recognized. Think about it a bit. When I used to work in Vancouver for another organization, there was a big problem with the food. Many people were complaining that because some students, the different kind of food they cook, people were saying their food is smell bad. And those students from different cultures didn't feel welcomed because everyone was criticizing their food. Some of them were so embarrassed that they stopped eating their cultural food and they tried to go to McDonald's and eat like everyone. Is this an intercultural and international class? No. An international class is a class, as we say, that brings all this together. Why? Because as we say, culture, you know, when we talk about culture, we know that culture is a mix of many things. But most importantly, culture is a mix of ideas, beliefs, values, behavioral norm, knowledge, and tradition. But most importantly, culture is about groups who share historical, geographic, religious, racial, linguistic, ethnic, or social context. And culture is transmitted, it is reinforced, it is modified, it is changed over time. But culture is the values of people. It is the core of people. Whether that culture change over time, it is important for people to know that their culture is acknowledged. Some of the dimensions of culture that should be acknowledged is, for example, the sense of self and space. In my culture, if you meet someone and you just say hello, they will feel insulted because you have to shake their hand. But now with coronavirus, can you imagine how people of my culture will feel because now no one is supposed to shake hands? It is communication and language. And think about communication and language in your international classroom and the challenges with communication and language, especially for people like me who have English as fifth language, or people who have Spanish as second or third language. Think about how this is going to play in your classroom. It is also, culture is about beliefs and attitude. It is about the dress code and the way we appear. It is about our work habit and practices. And imagine in your international classroom how work habits and practices of your students are going to unfold. For example, let's say some of your students are Catholic, some of your students are Muslim. How are you going to accommodate this student? Because, for example, your Muslim student, he will need to pray 5 times a day. So at 1 p.m. in the classroom, they might stand up and say, sorry, I need to go to pray. How are you going to do? It is about values. Culture is about values and norms. How are you going to accommodate the values? For example, let's say in your classroom, there is some cultures where men and women don't sit together. What are you going to do if one of your male students say, oh, professor, sorry, I can't sit with women? How are you going to do and challenge that cultural norm or accommodate it? Culture is also about our relationship. It is about time consciousness. Think about those cultures where the right time is the time when you come to class. How are you going to deal with a student who don't come at 9 o'clock like everyone, but they show up at 9:30 or 10:30? And as I say, also it is food and habits. But most importantly, I think as instructor and academics and the administrator, you need also to think about this concept that maybe they have been here for a long time, but they still relevant today. It is the characteristic of culture that were defined by Gert Hofstede, where he talked about collectivist culture and individualist culture. What I want you is to think about the intersection of these two, because today with the global world we live in, we don't only have collectivist culture and individualistic culture, but we have in-between culture. We have the global culture. We have cultures that don't fit these two frameworks. So when you're thinking about culture and developing your program about culture, I want you to trouble this notion and question them. And finally, to think about diversity, because culture is only relevant because there is individuals who live that culture, who act that culture. Think about the diversity in those individuals, because what make your culture might not make you as an individual. For example, in my culture, using your left hand to eat is taboo. It's not a good thing. But me, I was born left-handed. And every time I have used my left hand, I was beaten up. How are you going to accommodate this in your classroom if you come in from a culture where a student should write with their right hand, and you have Musa in your classroom who start writing with their left hand? In some culture, if they say yes, they don't do like this. You know, in our culture, yes means like this. In some culture, yes means this. How are you going to learn this? And how are you going to deal with a student who do this way? So should you ask them and say, I saw you shaking your head. Can you tell me what you mean? Or are you just going to assume that they say no, when in reality, they say yes? So Hidalgo gave us some very specific and concrete ideas about the iceberg, about culture. Oftentimes what we see is the visible, the tangible on top of cultures, the surface dimension. What we're missing, it is the cultural norms and roles, how we define the social roles, the language, the communication, the family structure, the gender role. And this reflects the values as they situate us organizationally in our society, in our institution. But most importantly, what we really miss when we talk about culture, it is also the values, the symbolic values at the bottom of the iceberg, which is here. The values and the belief, which sometimes are the abstract element of the culture. For example, the value systems. You know, like in my culture, the value system make it so important that you can't say anything bad about the mother. You can't insult anyone's mother, even make a joke. That's very dangerous. The worldview, how we see the world, our belief system, spirituality, and more. But most importantly, I want to say, as you can see in my picture, when I meet people, what they think, they see me as just a black guy. They forget that I'm from a traditional culture, you know, where when I go back in my village in Senegal, I can't wear trousers and suits. No, I have to wear this kind of traditional clothes because this is what we wear back home. This make you look responsible and wise. If you wear a shirt with gray hair, people will think you are a fool. So now people in my culture respect the gray hair to the point that they will never challenge an older person. Imagine your international student in your class who you want them to apply critical thinking and engage you and challenge you, but they will never challenge you. How are you going to deal with them? Think about the student who come to your class who instead of saying, you say to them, call me Musa, and they will never call you Musa. Every time they will say Sir. And you know that those kind of students might never also challenge you. Whatever you say, they will just take it and say Amen. And I want you to think about beyond and above the culture, because it is so easy for many of us to talk about culture, or we are intercultural, or we are accepting cultures, when in reality, what we are accepting is what we see and what we can comprehend. And the moment the person start acting from the bottom of the iceberg, then we have a negative reaction to them. Now, we're going to place this in a classroom. Imagine it can be in a classroom, it can be in your workplace, it can be on your campus. But here's a video I'm going to play. And when we finish watching this video, I will engage you to think about these 3 questions. In your group, you will talk about what is going on. And you will also discuss how the instructor, cultural views, and assumptions have affected the student and the learning environment. And how will you prevent these kind of issues from happening in your international intercultural classroom? Then when you report back, we want to hear from each group to share with us 3 strategies about how you're going to prevent these kind of issues happening in your classroom. If everyone is okay, I'm going to then show you the video. I'm also going to put it in the chat room just in case some people can't see it. So it is in the chat room. The link is there. You can click on it in case you can't see it here on my screen. Okay, let's watch the video then.
Okay, what else? Yes, man. I do not understand item H403. H403. A lot of Americans wear these to sporting events. But why so? It's hard to explain. We just do. Yes.
I don't understand the purpose of A221.
A221. That's a burger brand. Americans eat.
Okay, I'm just dealing with some technical issue here. Bear with me 1 second.
Okay, what else? Yes, man meat. I do not understand item H403.
Can everyone see now?
H403.
Yes, at this
a lot of
moment.
Americans wear these to sporting events. But why so? It's hard to explain. We just do. Yes.
I don't understand the purpose of A221.
A221. That's a burger brand. Americans eat a lot of beef, and some people like to burn their initials into their food with a red hot iron before they eat it.
Why?
It's like a cattle brand. You know, the thing you use to burn a symbol into a cow with? No, in America, that's how you keep track of your cow is branding.
With a red hot iron?
Yeah. But wouldn't the cow run away? Oh, no, we only do it to baby cows. When they're small enough to hold them down. Yes, Sasha?
A suggestion, Mr. Todd.
Go ahead.
You need to learn about India.
Okay, so we want to hear from all the groups. So I'm going to send you in your group, and exercise is for you to discuss in 15 minutes what is going on here in this video, how the instructor worldviews and assumptions have affected the student and the learning environment based on the way he brought the material he would to teach, and how will you prevent these kind of issues from happening in your international intercultural class. And then you will report back, each group will report back. So if we're ready, then we're going to send you again to your groups. So are we ready to go, Machas?
Well, I think so.
Yeah, so I'm going to mix people a bit so that there is a bit of variety in the groups. Or for Angelica, there is people who are here.
Yes. In my group, we already finished,
Oh, you
but
finished your
we're
group?
still writing. Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. Huh? Your group is fast then.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So do you want to move and go look another group what they're doing?
No.
Because there is still plenty of time. I put 15 minutes.
Thank you.
Huh? So if you want me, I can put you in another group so that you can listen and see what they're talking about.
Thank you, Musa. It's okay.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So how is the weather on your side there?
It was, I mean, it was not easy. No, it was not easy, but we tried to make it like trying to think about the values of the society that he was facing, you know?
Yes.
That is something that it's really complicated, though. It's not something you just assume and you just go on. It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
But the situation is, I mean, Paula's gonna tell you later when everyone comes back. But yeah, like sometimes you just assume a lot of situations and you try to make them work somehow, and you don't have the context and the place that you are like speaking, you know. And I think like the most complicated situation is when you are affecting the values of a culture specifically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What you were saying about like religion or specific values that are part of the society as something that are like something that is so important for them to live and to have that relations with others.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. Yeah, this is a very critical point. What you just said, Angelica, is very critical. You know, how we intervene and impact values. You know, and yeah. So we need. I often argue that universities and unit and department and people need to have a conversation, open conversation about it in the faculty. Because oftentimes we all do just our research, we do our teaching, and we do a strategic planning about how our course should, fit into a specific box. But we don't think about the long term, about the effect, the impact of what we're doing on people values and everything else. Or we think about it, but we think about it in a way for them to get a job.
And something that is also really like relevant is like for example, here in Colombia, we have so many maybe immigrants, but we are a country that is mixed with.
Oh, Angelica, your video, your volume, I don't hear you. Yeah. Yeah.
City, like people from Medellin, and from Bogota, like each for example.
Yeah. We don't hear you, Angelica.
Can you hear me now?
No. Oh yeah, now I hear you.
Oh, no, sorry, I don't know what happened. No, what I was saying is like, for example, here in Colombia, that maybe we don't have too many immigrants, but what we have is like, if we are coming from different cities around the country, even each city has, different values and different perspectives. So if you, as you said, if you are having like you're planning or you're doing this conversation with the university, you have to do it not just because you have international people coming. It's because you have national people that is different from each other, like really different from each other.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And that's a good point. Yeah.
So I think it's quite a thing. And yeah, you're right. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, because, you know, even before we even talk about internationalization and talk about culture, the students we have in the room are all culturally different, you know, and as the instructor, culturally we are different and we belong to different cultures, but most importantly, our culture as an academic is totally different from the student culture as a student.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't think about that as well, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because in that culture as an academic, we have the issues of power and privilege, you know, and then some of your students have more power and more privilege than the others. So
yes, yeah.
But all this and how this dynamic is going to play out. So it is very fascinating, you know, when you think about, you know, what is happening in our classroom.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. This is a whole thing to talk about, actually.
Yes. Yeah, it is. So have you been to Canada before?
Yeah, I lived in Calgary for 4 months.
Oh, that's nice.
Pretty cold.
Yes, Calgary, definitely you didn't choose a very easy place. Calgary is cold.
Yeah, it's very cold, but I really like it. I enjoy it pretty much. Like, I think Canada is a really nice place to be. And
Yeah.
if you want to know about multicultural things,
Yes.
you have to go to Canada.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, I was there.
That is a place that you can have everything.
Yeah, I was there in December this year, just before
Yeah.
Corona hit. I have a childhood friend.
Okay.
And he lives in Calgary with his family. So every year I go visit him.
Yeah.
But oh, this was so cold. I was very cold. Me, I live in Victoria. Victoria is my region here in Canada, very cold compared to Calgary. So every time I go there, I feel like I'm in another continent.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Like, it's so cold, but I think it's beautiful. Like, they have amazing country land, and like,
yes,
the place is very beautiful as well.
Yeah, it is beautiful. Yeah, you're right. That definitely.
I mean, I don't regret. I think it was a really nice choice for me in the moment I did that. Like, it is like Canada is an amazing place, but as you said, it's also different from city to city. And even because it's so wide and big, you know, everything is so like different. Toronto is pretty different from Calgary. So I guess it's also pretty different from Victoria or just Vancouver as well.
Very different. Canada, that's the things. Every place you go to Canada is different from the other one. Yeah. It is quite different. Yeah.
I have, my husband has a, like.
Everyone is back now. Sorry, Angelica, let's continue this later.
Perfect.
Is back in the room. So, but I will post my email, and you know, we will have time again to talk before the end of the week. So everyone, come back. I hope that you had a good conversation about these questions. So let's hear about each group, 3 strategies you will use to prevent these kind of issues happening in your classroom. So let's go with the first group. And the first group is Angel, Eleonora, Erika, Fernan, Matias, and Monica.
Hi, so I'm the representative this time. I'm not sure if I have the 3 full-blown strategies, but what we were talking about is, first of all, this could be a learning opportunity. So obviously, the instructor should have tried to do more research on India, on the culture, on the role that cows have in India. But given that he already made this mistake, this could be seen as an opportunity to learn. So learning about anything in general. specifically for the situation with cows. Once he realizes, okay, they're reacting in this way, maybe we can have a group conversation. And if it were a more, let's say, multicultural group, we weren't sure, but it seemed from the video that everyone there except the professor were from India. But let's say we're people from other countries, this could be an opportunity to talk about, okay, what is it like in your country? What is it like in your culture? Then also the problem of sometimes we fall into the trap of thinking some things are universal. So some things seem so common sense to us, seem so normal, seem that they should be the same everywhere else. So just trying to keep yourself in check and not assuming that universality that you would think would apply to other cultures. So I think that's what mostly we talked about at the end.
Excellent. Thank you, Angel. Group number 2, Camila Bravo, Daniela, Eric, Giovanni, and Maka.
Oh, hi. So I'm gonna be the one talking for this group.
Yeah.
And there were 2 main ideas that we brainstormed. And the first one is to be informed or to try to be aware that he is interacting with people and students from other cultures. Because first, like the kind of like the misunderstanding feeling that that we can could notice in the video is because he's just assuming that they are they kind of have the same idea of some cultural aspects. So the first one is like try to be more aware of these differences in order not to have misunderstandings. And the second one, the second thought was about trying to set up some rules at the beginning of a course, kind of like try to let students know that if they have some discomfort, if they don't feel good with some behaviors, they could express it in the class.
Excellent. And as we did before, I encourage you, those people who reported, to write those 3 strategies on the chat so that everyone can see it also. Because I just want at the end of the workshop that you have all these ideas and you can take them home and reflect more on it.
Okay.
So, excellent. So we go to group number 3, Evantos, Julia, Lina, Maria, and Sandra Toro. Anyone in that group? Evantos?
Yes. I'm Sandra. Thank you so much. We think that the first thing is that the teacher, the first thing the teacher has to do is to be informed about who the topic is assumed in the country he is going to teach. The second strategy could be who is the people in the classroom he is going to talk to about the topic. And I think the third thing could be to know or maybe to approach to the pre-knowledge of the students in the classrooms. So I think a communication strategy could be the first thing the instructor has to do before talking about any topic.
Excellent.
Especially if it's a cultural topic.
Yes. That's interesting. Thank you, Sandra. Group number 4, Ana Maria Arango, Marie Hayes, Oscar Alfonso, Rene Zigman, and Vanessa Ibanez Delgado.
Hi. We could have easily gone for an hour to discuss this in my group. We were having a good time, but we sort of agreed on well, the following. One is that institutions need to recognize, I think, professors who are more open to these sorts of situations where you would have a more multicultural or international classroom. We said that because and I understand this is sort of an extreme example, but teacher in this situation just didn't seem to be at all interested in, in being a little bit sensitive. So you want to make sure that you identify those members of your faculty who show some interest, and then provide them perhaps with some training, some intercultural training or some intercultural communication. And then we talked about at the beginning of classes, again, this is something that might be easier in a smaller group setting, but the professor should take the time to get to know his students and who they are. They don't have to tell their whole life stories, but important things like maybe where they're from, so that he or she could sort of think, wow, I don't know anything about, for example, people from Bangladesh. Maybe I do need to look into it a little bit more so that I don't put my foot in my mouth, as we would say in English. But then, and also just be open to these differences and to be sensitive, and maybe yeah, to show a little bit of humility sometimes, allowing perhaps to have, again, you mentioned at the beginning of this chat that culturally speaking, perhaps some students would never think to say something to their professor, but maybe trying to create an environment where someone might feel comfortable enough to say something, to speak up, or something like that.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Mary. So group number 5, we have coordinator Movilidad, Marcela, and Paula.
Yes, hi. Well, I believe we agree with most of the things our colleagues said before. So for us, it's very important for the teacher or the person to do a research of the place or the environment where is working, and what the cultural habits are. Also to do a research of the students in the classroom, to know their beliefs and what's important for them. I think one of the best ways to do it is that the teacher can present himself beforehand, and talk a little bit about his or her culture and all these things, and then give the chance to the students to do the same. So everyone in the classroom get to know each other and get to know what the limits are in cultural related things. And the last one is to practice some empathy with the public that it's working with. So I think it's really important, this part in an intercultural environment as well.
Definitely. It is.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paula. Yeah, so groups, people are posting their group strategies, and I will say all of you post it there. At the end of the workshop, I hope that the organizer, Matthias, they will be able to save it as a file and share it with people, or you can just copy it. The next things I want to just talk about is when we interact in the classroom, the issue is communication. It doesn't matter if all of us, we speak the same language. Even if our students speak English or Spanish like us, communication is part of culture. The same challenge we have with cultural interactions and intercultural exchanges, the same way we will have with communication in a cultural context, because communication is very highly complex, and it is not only multi-layered, but it is dynamic. I like the Adler definition of communication. He argues that communication is always dependent on the perception, the interpretation, and the evaluation of the person behavior, which includes the verbal versus the non-verbal, as well as the consciously versus the unconsciously sent message. The teachers in this video might be thinking about communicating, some values by explaining things, but he did it from his cultural context, as all of you acknowledge, without realizing the context of India and the context people have vis-a-vis food, and especially beef. So it is important though, I want to add, you as an instructor or people like us who work in this context of universities or colleges, we should remember our privilege as instructor, being able to stand in the classroom and be the one conveying education. And remember, education is not value neutral. Education has value embedded in it. But also not only our privilege, but also our power, the power to say what looks like the right or the reality or the truth. As instructor, as administrator in our institutions, oftentimes what we say is often taken as being the truth, as being the value. So we have to be mindful about this. But most importantly, when we talk about communication, we need to be sure that there is, as we talk about cultural, the dimension of culture as being collectivist and individualistic, we need also to incorporate in our understanding about culture, about the characteristic developed by Hall. Hall, he says that we have to talk about the high and low context of culture. So the high context of culture will be under the collectivist culture. Collectivist culture as cultures where the group is more important than the individual. Because in the collectivist culture, the way communication expressed is that it is not verbal. It is covert and it is implicit. You can see that some of the students in this example didn't say anything, but some of them just put their hand like this or just keep quiet. That is communication that all of us, we need to develop in our cultural context in the international classroom, especially with regard to our power and privilege as instructor and administrator in our institutions. The individualistic culture the teacher is coming from, the instructor is coming from, is a low context culture where communication is overt and explicit. You say everything. And it is very verbalized detail. And he went in detail to explain that in our culture, we mark our beef, we do this, we do that. And the more he was talking about that, thinking that he's giving context, the more it was horrifying the student. So how can us doing our work and the work we love doing, which is teaching, which is researching, which is programming in our institution, how can we do that work, keeping in mind this not only cultural dimension, but also communication dimension within culture. And also the in-between, as I told you, that the world is not only collectivist and individualistic, but in between there is other characteristic of communication and culture. The simple existence, however, of different cultures and different cultural groups, you have to remember, will always carry the potential for conflict between people and groups. That's the reality. In my culture, we say that your tongue and your teeth are the closest neighbor, but every day they bite each other. So we can't assume that we can deal and interact in an intercultural, cross-cultural environment without conflict. And conflict is not only the violent conflict, it can be just the tension, things that happen that are not being expressed, but that can hinder learning. Conflict can be sometimes embedded in our expectation and the goals we assign to ourselves, expectation of what students should learn and the goals we want to achieve in our class. It can be embedded in the values, our values and the student values, in the history of relationships. When I was in high school, I was suspended by my professor of history. And the reason being, the history he was teaching us in Senegal was all about French history. And I challenged him that we have history in Canada, in Senegal. And that the history and the way we talk about our ancestor and some of the hero of my country is totally different from what he's telling us. Because his point was all the people who resisted the French colonization was a terrorist and bad people. and I challenged him on this, and I was suspended for 2 weeks. So look at that history, because then how do you think I interacted with that professor for the rest of the semester? How much did I learn? How much did I resist his teaching? So if you humiliate someone's culture, you know that they're not going to listen and learn from you. Communication, you have to think about it in all different aspects: verbal, non-verbal, formal, non-formal, way we communicate, face-to-face, phone, texting, email, social media, everything. And also you have to think about it because conflict can be also embedded in the institution structure, the policies, the laws, the power and the privileges that is bestowed and assigned to people like you and I in our institution, and other things. The next thing is strategy. I want us then to move quickly to strategy, and as a way to wrap up is to talk about how can we as instructor and administrator, how can we create and develop strategies for culturally inclusive international classroom and campuses. I have a question for you as faculty or administrator. I was wondering, what should you have in place in order to create culturally inclusive international classroom and campus? What should you do? And I was tempted to give you another chance to go in groups, but this time I don't give you 15 minutes. I'm going to give you 5 minutes because we want you to just say 1 or 3 things in each group. So 5 minutes and you report back. See you soon. Okay, Monica, are you able to join to go to your group? You are in group 1 with Eric and Diana and Paula and Rene. Monica?
Thank you, Musa. I'm having a problem with my computer.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So you want me to send you back to one group?
Yes, I'm going to go to my group. Gracias.
Okay, Patricia, I send you in a group. Can you join there? I send you to group 4 with Angelica, Lina, and Vanessa. Good. Okay, everyone is back. So yeah, let's hear from each group then. We want to hear from Diana, Eric, Paula, and Renee. Group number 1. 1 or 3 things you will do, strategies to implement in your curriculum.
I think it's my group.
Yes.
Isn't it? Okay.
Yes, it is.
So, well, we were talking about some extracurricular activities.
Yes.
For example, Paula, sorry if I don't remember well her name is, she mentioned some, for example, cultural fairs, in which these international students have the opportunity to expose and present their culture, some aspects of their culture, such music, food, customs, traditions.
Excellent. Yeah.
And there was another one, and it was also including arts, as for example having an spot for movies.
Yes.
And also some inclusion of subjects in the curriculum, which also have includes readings and literacy from the countries, from the international students.
Excellent. That's good. So Diana, I want you to go to the chat room and put this is there. So
sure.
Yeah, I'm good for the sake of time. What I will do, I will ask the other groups just to say one strategy, and then post all the strategies on the chat room. So I go with number 2, Evantos, Mary, Matthias, Monica, and Oscar. One strategy you will do, you will implement in your curriculum, pedagogy, and programming. Who is reporting?
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, I think for me the most one strategy is through the music, because I know what kind of music prepare any of my students, I can know of my student through the music.
Yes.
And with the music, I can generating a difference in relationships and know about the culture of the students.
Yes.
So for me, it's one strategy, the music.
Excellent. Oscar, I use that kind of approach in my class. I invite students, everyone to bring 3 songs from their culture, traditional song, postmodern song, and one of their best song. And every class break, during the break, we play each song. So, and throughout the whole semester, every class we play some music at the break or at the beginning of the class before we start.
Yes, for example, other idea is me at the start any class, I recommend one song of my favorite music. But I asking any student, for example, Matthias, tell me what you can music or song recommended today and why. Why is important for you?
Yeah. So. I also check with the student if music is the best way to connect, because some students, they don't, because of religious issues, they don't want music. So I also have the conversation with them before. So I move to the group number 3, Camila Bravo, Faber, Alberto, Julia, Marta, Rena, and Sandra Toro. Anyone in that group?
Yes, we were talking about international fairs. Maybe we can organize international fairs each semester, or I don't know, something like that on campus, so students from all the faculties can visit the fair and exchange food and everything with students from different cultures.
That's excellent. I totally agree. I like that. I like the idea. Thank you so much. So next group, Angelica Molina, Col Ude, Fernando Henao, Lina Maria, and Vanessa Ibanez. One strategy you will use
We thought about a context, like putting some examples of different situations and trying to speak about those situations from different perspectives. So, for example, like we saw in the video about the cow, how do you see or how do you look at the cow from different contexts? Not just like doing it from one context. So in that way, we will be free, you know, to try to make this opportunity and widen our thoughts and our thinking, and make them look for those common situations, right? The way you can actually see each other and feel empathy. I think that will be a nice opportunity, and you can do that in every class.
Yes, definitely, I agree with you. And even me, when I was using this video of the cow, my question to myself was, is there another video or another way to do this exercise or to engage this conversation? So those are questions we have to ask ourselves also. Yeah, because when I was doing this video, I was also thinking, what will be the sensitivity of some of the people in this workshop and how they will be affected by this video. So I moved to the last group: Anna Maria, Angel, Dana, Giovanni, and Marcela. Anyone? Anyone in that group? Okay, if no one is reporting from this group, I am just going to move and close it now. I want to quickly talk about developing intercultural competencies as a way to foster global citizenship. And I think that cultural competency, as all of us we know, is the integration and the transformation of knowledge about individuals and groups of people into specific standard policy, practices, and attitude used in appropriate cultural setting to increase the quality of our services, thereby producing better outcome. As students, we will be effective citizens and be able to contribute to the development of the country. However, cultural competency has different definitions. I will just give you this definition to think about. One is from Page, another one is for Deerdorf, and the other one is for Bennett. So I will just read the one from Bennett. And Bennett argues that cultural competency is acquiring increased awareness of subjective cultural context, which is a worldview, including our own worldviews, and developing a greater ability to interact sensitively and competently across cultural contexts. And then we have Peterson, who have developed a cultural competency model, and where he focused on awareness, on knowledge, on the skills and the attitude. And all these key things have been put together to become later what we call cultural intelligence. Cultural intelligence, it is a knowledge of not only our own culture, but the culture of others. It is a mindfulness about being mindful about our assumption about our culture and other people's culture. And it is a behavior or the action, the way we will use our mindfulness and our knowledge of culture, of our own culture and other people's culture, and how we will use this in our classroom and in everyday context. But I will add also that cultural intelligence, in order to become cultural competency, we need also to think about two key issues. One is communication. The second one is building trust. And at the end of the day, for all this, it is creating inclusivity and equity in our classroom and campuses. However, let me tell you, although diversity is the way we are diverse, we are different, our students are different, the way we are different, although our diversity exists, however, inclusion does not exist. Inclusion is created, and all of us, we have to create inclusion by first and foremost learning about our own culture, our own trigger, learning about other people's cultures, and being mindful about our assumption and interpretation and in our interaction, and behaving accordingly, sensitively, competently, as Bennett said. When you do this and you are mindful and you are competent culturally, what you have at the end of the day, you will be able to operate in an effective way to be culturally competent and also to have a classroom that is inclusive of culture and international students. So this is what I have to say. I want to say thank you all for today and for allowing me to share with you this conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Musa. Thank you, everyone. I think we are running out of time to go to prepare the next room. And but in these 30 minutes, we invite you all to visit our virtual, let's say, stands, and also to participate in the community boards and the virtual meetups. I already downloaded the chat, so I will also in a community, let's say we call it the name of this workshop for you to share the, let's say the chat, some of the information that we brainstorming there. And thank you so much for your active participation, and see you in less than 30 minutes in one of our concurrent sessions that we will have at 4. So thank you very much. Hope you all enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Marcias.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Many thanks, Musa, Professor.
Thank you to you too.
I were here in Colombia, maybe.
Yes, one day, definitely. I would love to come visit Colombia.
Okay, see ya.
It would be a great opportunity. Yeah.
Thanks, Musa. Thanks, Matthias.
Thank you. Matthias Evantos, I just made you back host so that you can take over the program.
Yeah, thank you very much, Musa. It was very nice having you around.
Thank you. I hope that this meet a bit the expectation of the people in this workshop today.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much.
Musa, could you give us your address, like email address to contact you?
Yeah. So it is here. I'm putting it in the chat. So it is here in the chat. So I just posted it.
Thank you. I will write to you then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
So, and EKHR, and the website for my office is there also.
All right. Julia, nos pasamos 4 minutos. Esperamos que podamos preparar la sala.
Bye, everyone.
Yes, I'm saying that. Oh, Musa, I just wanted to tell you you can follow this discussion with the forums. I don't know if you could see it. And do you speak French? Sorry.
Hein?
He speaks French.
Oui, je parle français.
Ah, ce sera plus simple pour moi. Donc juste en 2 mots. Vous avez la possibilité avec la plateforme de voir les forums. Comme ça, vous pouvez aussi avoir plus de contacts, et développer cette discussion. Je ne sais pas si vous l'avez fait déjà.
J'ai essayé de le faire, mais je n'ai pas pu y rester très longtemps parce que, bon, juste, j'étais très busy cette semaine-là. Mais définitivement, je vais essayer de le faire pour les jours qui viennent.
Et je vous invite.
Si vous voulez, si vous voulez, vous me laissez votre contact et je pourrais essayer de vous aider, ou avec Mathias aussi. Allez, je lui donne du travail supplémentaire. On pourra vous aider. Et I'm sorry, I have to go back to the other classroom. I heard you were speaking French, Mathias. I heard that. But I have to go to help in another room. So
Yeah,
if you want,
email is there. My email is there for you to see. Oh no, let me put it public. Julia, you can see my email. Okay, it is there.
Okay, I have it, and so we will help you with the creation of the forum. I think it can be very interesting thing for you to give continuity at this discussion. Okay, bye. Have a really nice day.
Merci, you too. Merci Mathias. Merci Evantos et bonne journée. Au revoir. Bye. Bye.